Human fired for helping fallen alien, but destiny had other plans. Zen Proxima was a city unlike any other. Towering structures stretched toward the sky, their smooth glass exteriors glinting in the sunlight, casting long shadows over the bustling streets below. It was a place where humans and aliens lived side by side, working, trading, and building the future together. The city's alien district was where all the action happened, the heart of trade, the center of business. Humans were relegated to the Earth Quarter, an area that, while bustling, was overshadowed by the sleek, advanced designs of the alien sectors. Jack Reed didn't mind it, though. He'd lived his whole life in the Earth Quarter, working with his hands, building things, making a name for himself as one of the best construction workers around. He was proud of his work, even if the alien workers and their high-tech machines often made him feel like a relic from a bygone era. But today was different. Jack's boots pounded against the pavement as he sprinted through the crowded alien district, his heart racing with anxiety. Sweat dripped from his forehead, sticking his blonde hair to his face as he checked his watch for the third time in the last minute. He had only 10 minutes to get to the construction site, and with the way things had been going lately, he could already feel the weight of failure pressing down on him. His supervisor, Threx, had warned him. "One more tardy day, Reed, and you're out of here. I don't care how good you are, we don't tolerate lateness on this site." Jack had been late twice this week. Another mistake, and it would be over for him. The city around him was alive with activity. Alien traders haggled loudly over the price of exotic goods, while sleek hovercars zipped by overhead, their passengers oblivious to the chaos below. Jack tried to avoid bumping into the various alien species as he maneuvered through the crowd, his eyes darting nervously from his watch to the construction site ahead. Just as he turned the corner, he froze. There, in the middle of the busy pedestrian crossing, an elderly alien woman had collapsed. Her bags had spilled across the pavement, their contents scattered in every direction. The people around her just walked by, not even sparing a glance, their faces full of indifference. Jack's stomach twisted. The sight was almost too familiar. The woman, small and frail, had bright green skin, though it was faded with age. Her long, wrinkled face seemed to tell stories of a life well lived. Her round spectacles were perched precariously on the tip of her nose, and her gray hair was neatly tied back. Despite her age, there was a dignity about her that made Jack hesitate. He glanced at his watch again. 5 minutes. His heart sank. He was already late. If he didn't move, he'd lose his job for good. But something inside him wouldn't let him walk away. He couldn't leave this woman alone in the middle of the street. With a sigh, Jack jogged toward her. "Are you okay, ma'am?" he asked, kneeling beside her. She looked up at him, her milky eyes wide with surprise. "Oh my, a human," she said softly, her voice shaking. "I seem to have taken quite a tumble." Jack gently helped her sit up, his strong arms supporting her as she winced in pain. "Can you stand?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. She shook her head, wincing as she put weight on her leg. "It's not broken," he said, taking a closer look. "But you've definitely sprained it. You should rest for a bit." He glanced around, then began gathering the scattered groceries, placing them back into her bags. "I'm sorry about this, ma'am. Let me get you to a bench. You shouldn't stay out here with a hurt leg." The elderly woman watched him with curious eyes, her expression softening. "You're very kind, young man. Most wouldn't stop, especially not for a Zoran like me." Jack smiled, picking up the last of her items. "My mom would have haunted me from the grave if I left someone like you lying on the ground." With a grunt, he helped her to her feet, steadying her as she leaned on him for support. She smiled faintly, and despite the pain in her leg, she seemed to appreciate the gesture. "Can you make it home on your own?" Jack asked, still concerned. "Oh yes," she said with a wave of her hand. "My home's just around the corner." "You've done more than enough, young man." Jack hesitated for a moment. "All right. Please be careful, ma'am." She gave him a warm smile. "I'll be fine. Thank you again. You're a good soul." Jack nodded and checked his watch once more. His stomach dropped when he saw the time. 5 minutes late. He gave the woman a final look before rushing off again, his pace quickening. He didn't have time to dwell on the encounter. He had a job to save, after all. As Jack ran through the streets, he couldn't help but think about the woman's words. A good soul. He'd never been called that before. The construction site was in sight now, just a few more blocks away. He could see the towering scaffolding of the building he'd been working on for months, and he quickened his pace. He had to make it. He couldn't lose this job. When Jack finally reached the site, he was out of breath, his heart pounding in his chest. But standing at the entrance, waiting for him with crossed arms, was Threx, his supervisor. Threx was an alien, a cold-blooded Zarek who towered over Jack with his 6 piercing eyes. His mandibles twitched as he surveyed Jack with disapproval. 17 minutes late, Reed, he growled, his voice deep and unsettling. What's your excuse this time? Jack's breath caught in his throat. He opened his mouth to explain, but Threx didn't let him speak. I don't want to hear it. This is the 4th time this month. You're out of here, Threx said coldly. Jack's legs felt weak. I was helping someone, Threx. She fell in the street, an old lady. She was hurt. I couldn't just leave her there. Threx scoffed. You think I care about that? Your job here is to build, not to play nursemaid to every alien who falls. Pack your things. You're done. Jack stood there, stunned. Fired. All because he'd helped an old woman who had no one else to turn to. Around him, the other workers, aliens who had been with the company longer than he, glanced away, some with sympathy, others with indifference. Jack moved slowly toward his locker, his mind racing. What now? No job meant no rent, no apartment, and no chance to pay for the things he needed to survive. The streets of Zen Proxima felt colder than ever. As Jack packed his things, a voice broke through his thoughts. Tough break, Reed, a gruff voice said. Jack turned to see Zorn, one of the other workers, standing by the entrance. The big Zorn looked sympathetic. Knew they'd find a reason to fire you. If it makes you feel any better, I would have done the same. It's just how things are here. Jack nodded glumly. He was fired. And now, it was up to him to figure out what came next. He grabbed his duffel bag and slung it over his shoulder, heading out into the unknown. The day had started with a simple act of kindness, and now, he was left with nothing. As Jack walked through the streets of Zen Proxima, his thoughts were clouded. But something inside him told him this wasn't the end of his story. It was just the beginning. Jack walked slowly through the alien district of Zen Proxima, his mind in a whirl. His duffel bag hung limply from his shoulder, its weight suddenly much heavier than before. He couldn't believe it. He'd lost his job, all because of one small act of kindness. The streets were still alive with activity, but the noise felt distant to Jack, as if the entire city had faded into the background. His thoughts kept replaying the scene at the construction site. Threx's cold words, the harsh dismissal, the feeling of complete failure. He had tried so hard to make things work. He had always prided himself on being a good worker, someone who got the job done no matter the cost. Yet today, his kindness had been punished. As Jack passed a few alien vendors, their faces unfamiliar and indifferent, he couldn't help but feel the weight of being a human in this strange, foreign city. The Earth Quarter was one thing, but here, in the heart of the alien district, he had always felt like an outsider. He had known that for humans like him, opportunities were scarce. But today, he had learned just how far that gap stretched. Jack let out a deep breath and kept walking. Where else could he go? He couldn't go back to the Earth Quarter. Rent had been getting more expensive there every month. And without a job, he had no way of paying his bills. He could go back to his parents, of course, but that would mean admitting defeat. It was a feeling he wasn't quite ready to face. As he reached the corner of Meridian Boulevard, he noticed a familiar face, a fellow worker named Drav, a burly Taurian who had been with the company for years. Drav had always been one of the few who treated Jack like an equal. The Taurian stopped when he saw Jack, his eyes narrowing with concern. Tough break, Reed, Drav rumbled, crossing his arms over his massive chest. The low growl of his voice seemed to match the gravity of the situation. Krell's been gunning for a reason to fire you. Jack met Drav's gaze. I didn't deserve that, Drav. I was just trying to help her. That old lady. She fell, and no one else was stopping to help. How could I just leave her? Drav grunted, rubbing his stubbled chin. I get it. Hell, I would have done the same thing. But Krell doesn't care about that. He's always looking for a reason to trim the fat, you know? Drav leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Word on the street is they're cutting human workers to save costs. They think we're just filling in the gaps, anyway. Jack's heart sank even further. It wasn't just his tardiness or his mistake that got him fired. It was something deeper, something systemic. So, I was just a number to them, huh? Jack said bitterly. You're not just a number, Draft said quickly, shaking his head. But you're human, and that's never been in your favor here. You know how it is. Jack nodded, his mind still reeling from the dismissal. He didn't want to admit it, but Drav was right. There were so few jobs for humans in the city. Even with his skills, even with his dedication, he had always known that being a human in this place meant he was always one bad day away from being left behind. Drav slapped him on the back, his thick hand making Jack stumble slightly. Hey, if it helps, I've seen this before. Krell's always on a power trip, firing anyone who doesn't fit the mold. You know how they are. He paused, his eyes scanning the crowds around them. But don't sweat it. I'll buy you a drink tonight. Come by the Crater Bar. I'll make sure you're not alone in this. Jack gave a faint, appreciative smile. Thanks, Draft. I might just take you up on that. But even as he spoke the words, he felt a growing sense of unease. The world around him seemed to blur as he continued his walk through the district, his footsteps echoing in the empty spaces between the towering buildings. The offer to have a drink with Drav, while kind, didn't erase the fact that he was now jobless, wandering through a city that wasn't quite home. The further he walked, the more distant everything seemed. What now? He kept asking himself. He wasn't sure if he could stay in Zen Proxima much longer, not with how things were going. It was the kind of place where compassion didn't get you ahead, it got you pushed aside. The sunlight was beginning to fade, casting long shadows over the streets, and Jack was just about to take the last turn toward the Earth Quarter when something caught his eye. A familiar hover car rolling slowly through the crowded streets, its passenger side window tinted dark. As it drew nearer, he could make out a figure sitting inside, the elderly Zoran woman from earlier. His heart skipped a beat. The hover car came to a stop beside him, and the window slid down silently. There she was, her once wrinkled face now adorned with a warm, grateful smile. Jack Reed, is it? She asked, her voice soft but clear. He blinked, caught off guard. Yeah, that's me. You. You're the lady I helped earlier? Her smile widened, and she nodded. Yes, it's me. I wanted to find you and thank you again for your kindness. You're the only one who didn't walk past me, you know? Jack wasn't sure how to respond, his mind still in a fog. It's no big deal, he muttered. I couldn't just leave you lying there. The Zoran woman leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. I appreciate that more than you know, but I wanted to show my thanks. My husband, Rigak, would very much like to meet you. Jack's eyebrows furrowed. Rigak? Your husband? Yes, she said, her eyes glinting. He's an influential figure here in Zen Proxima. He's the one who oversees a lot of the business dealings in this sector. And he's heard about your act of kindness today. Jack's stomach twisted with confusion. Why would someone like Rigak want to meet him? I don't mean to be rude, but I don't think I have time for whatever this is, Jack said, shaking his head. He was about to turn away, but the Zoran woman's gaze was steady, almost pleading. Jack, she said softly, it would mean a lot to me. My husband would very much like to thank you. Please, just come. What's the worst that could happen? Her voice held an urgency that caught his attention. It wasn't just politeness, it was something more. Jack looked at her for a moment, still unsure, but something in her expression made him pause. Maybe he was desperate for a break, or maybe he just needed to get away from the sinking feeling in his chest. He sighed. All right, lead the way. As the hover car glided away, Jack's mind raced. His life had just taken another unexpected turn. He had no idea what to expect, but he knew one thing for sure. He was about to step into a world far beyond anything he had imagined. And maybe, just maybe, this old woman had something in store for him that he hadn't yet realized. The hover car glided smoothly through the alien district, its sleek metallic frame reflecting the neon lights that lined the streets. Jack sat back, still processing the sudden turn his life had taken. His mind was a storm of confusion and curiosity. Why had this woman, Kendra, wanted to meet him? The car's soft hum was the only sound as they passed through Zen Proxima's shining streets. The city seemed different now. The buildings, once awe-inspiring, now felt cold and distant. It was like he was seeing it all through a new lens, one tinted with uncertainty. Everything he thought he knew about his life here was suddenly questioned. One simple act of kindness had led him down a path he wasn't sure he was ready for. Kendra, the elderly Zoran woman, sat across from him, her sharp purple eyes studying him with an intensity that made Jack uncomfortable. Her thin, Silver hair was neatly styled, and her dark green skin had a smoothness that betrayed her age. She was the picture of grace, yet there was an air about her, a quiet strength, like someone who had seen more than most could ever imagine. "I can tell you're wondering why I asked to meet you," Kendra said, breaking the silence. Her voice was calm, almost soothing. She folded her hands in her lap, her long fingers delicate and precise. Jack nodded, still unsure of how to respond. "Yeah, I don't really understand. I helped you because it seemed like the right thing to do. But this is a lot." Kendra gave him a gentle smile. "You're a good man, Jack. A rare one, it seems. Not many people would stop for an alien in distress. Most would just walk on by, too absorbed in their own lives to care. But you didn't. You took the time to help someone in need, regardless of who they were." Jack shifted in his seat, unease creeping up on him. "Look, I don't need praise. But you do need something," Kendra interrupted, her tone soft but firm. "That's why I'm here. You see, my husband, Rigak, and I have been watching the human workers in Zen Proxima for a while. We've been trying to understand them. And you, Jack, are different. You stand out. You have something that most others don't. Integrity." Jack's eyes narrowed, the hairs on the back of his neck standing up. "Rigak? Who's he?" Kendra's smile widened, and she leaned forward slightly, her eyes twinkling with a mix of mystery and confidence. "Rigak is, well, let's say he's someone who controls much of Zen Proxima's resources, especially in the construction sector. His company is behind most of the major projects in the city. You could say he's one of the most influential individuals in the sector. And I believe he's interested in you." Jack blinked. "Interested in me? For what?" "Not just you," Kendra replied, her voice lowering as if sharing a secret. "But someone like you, a human with a heart, with the kind of character that can't be easily found, even in the most prestigious circles." She paused, studying Jack's reaction. "Rigak needs someone who understands both humans and the alien systems here in Zen Proxima. He's looking for a liaison, someone who can bridge the gap between our people. And he believes you're the right person for the job." Jack was taken aback. He hadn't expected any of this. "You want me to work for him?" Kendra nodded. "Yes. Rigak believes you can play a key role in not only improving relations between humans and aliens, but also in helping to fix the fractured labor systems here. He wants someone who will stand for the human workers, someone who won't just let them be trampled by the system. He sees something in you that I believe you've only begun to recognize yourself." Jack sat back, processing everything Kendra had just said. He didn't know Rigak. He didn't know Kendra. And yet, here they were, offering him a chance to do something that could change everything. But there was still a lingering doubt in his mind. Why me? Why not someone else? There are tons of humans in the Earth Quarter who work just as hard. Why single me out? Kendra's expression softened. "Because, Jack, most people just follow the rules. They work, they get paid, and they go home. They don't look beyond their own lives. But you saw someone in need, and you didn't hesitate. That's something special. Rigak believes you can make a difference. He's offering you a position as his human liaison, and with that comes power, influence, and resources." Jack shook his head, trying to grasp what was happening. It was all too surreal. He was just a construction worker. Just a man trying to survive in a world that felt like it was slowly closing in on him. I'm not special. I just want to live my life. I've been through too much already. I don't know if I'm ready for something like this." Kendra's smile didn't waver. "It's not about being ready, Jack. It's about the choices you make. You can either keep walking the same path, with the same struggles, or you can take a chance. Rigak is offering you a position that can not only help you, but also change the lives of so many others. You'll be a voice for those who are unheard. And in doing so, you may just find that this path is the one that was meant for you." The car slowed to a stop, and Kendra turned her gaze to the grand estate ahead. Jack's mouth went dry. The mansion was massive, towering over the other buildings in the district. It had an air of opulence, the kind of wealth that was built over generations, with its gleaming marble columns and intricate glass windows. It looked nothing like the Earth Quarter, nothing like the rundown human apartments Jack had been used to. "This is Rigak's home," Kendra said softly, glancing at him. "He'd like to meet you now. I understand it's all happening very quickly, but I promise you, this could be the opportunity of a lifetime." Jack wasn't sure if he was ready for any of this, But as the hover car glided through the estate gates and up the winding driveway, he couldn't shake the feeling that his life was about to change in ways he could never have predicted. He had helped an old lady, and now he was standing on the threshold of something far greater than he had ever imagined. Jack stepped out of the hover car and was immediately struck by the grandeur of the estate. The mansion loomed above him, its walls adorned with intricate alien carvings and flowing, bioluminescent vines that wrapped around the pillars like something out of a dream. The air was thick with the scent of exotic flowers, a fragrance that seemed to carry both the elegance and the power of this place. As they made their way up the grand stone steps, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that he had walked into a world he didn't quite belong to. "Welcome to the next estate," Kendra said, her voice warm, though there was an edge to it. "Rigak is expecting you." Jack nodded absently, his mind still racing from the conversation in the car. The offer was too much to process. He was just a construction worker, a human among thousands, and now, suddenly, he was about to meet one of the most influential men on the entire planet. The weight of the situation settled heavy on his shoulders, and a part of him couldn't help but feel a bit out of place, like he was stepping into a game he didn't fully understand. Inside the mansion, everything was sleek and otherworldly, smooth, polished floors that seemed to shimmer with an iridescent glow, walls lined with strange, geometric art, and towering windows that revealed an expansive garden outside. The design was nothing like the utilitarian architecture of the Earth Quarter or the construction sites Jack had worked on. This was refined, elegant, and intimidating. Kendra led him through a series of corridors, each more impressive than the last. They passed several rooms, some with alien artifacts and others filled with holographic displays. Eventually, they reached a large door that opened without a sound. Inside was Rigak, seated behind a massive desk made of polished stone. The room was lit by soft, ambient light that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, casting an almost ethereal glow on the alien man sitting at the center of it all. Rigak was tall, even by alien standards, his dark green skin contrasted by the silver markings that ran across his arms and face. His eyes were piercing, intelligent, almost calculating, and as they met Jack's, they seemed to assess him in a way that made Jack feel like he was being stripped bare. "Jack Reed, I presume," Rigak said, his voice smooth and commanding, with a hint of curiosity. He rose from his seat and extended his hand, his three-fingered fingers firm as they clasped Jack's. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you." Jack was momentarily taken aback by how much power Rigak's presence exuded. He wasn't sure if he should feel awe or discomfort, but he forced himself to meet Rigak's gaze. "The pleasure's mine, sir," he said, though the words felt strange coming from his lips. Rigak gave a small smile, almost imperceptible. "Kendra has spoken highly of you. I must admit, I am impressed by your ability to see beyond the surface of things. Not many humans possess such insight. Most are content with the status quo." Jack raised an eyebrow, trying to read Rigak's intentions. "I'm not sure I understand, sir." Kendra spoke before Rigak could. "Rigak sees potential in you, Jack. He needs someone who can work with humans and aliens alike, someone who understands both sides. A human liaison who won't back down when things get tough." Rigak nodded slowly, his sharp eyes never leaving Jack's face. "Indeed, Zen Proxima is a complex world, Jack. For too long, humans have been sidelined, treated as tools, not people. But the dynamics here are shifting, and I need someone to help guide that change. Someone who understands both the strengths and the weaknesses of our systems." Jack glanced between the two of them, the weight of their words sinking in. "And you think I'm the right person for this job?" Rigak's smile widened, but it was cold, calculated. "I do. You've already proven you have what it takes. You stopped to help an elderly woman when no one else would. You didn't ask for anything in return. You did the right thing, even when it cost you. That is rare, Jack. In this world, that kind of integrity is valuable." Jack shifted uncomfortably. He wasn't used to being praised. He had always just done his job, done what he thought was right, without expecting recognition. And now, here he was, being offered something he couldn't quite comprehend. "I'm still not sure I understand," Jack admitted. "You want me to be a liaison between humans and aliens, but why me? Why not someone more experienced in politics or business?" Rigak leaned forward, folding his hands together on the desk. "Experience can be gained. But character, Jack, is something that cannot be taught. You possess something that I need, someone the human workers will trust. I need someone who can speak for them, who understands their struggles, and who can navigate the complexities of working with alien organizations. Someone like you, who hasn't been corrupted by power, but who has the potential to wield it effectively. Kendra watched Jack closely, her gaze unwavering. Rigak has big plans for Zen Proxima. The way humans are treated here is changing, but it's not going to be easy. There will be resistance, both from aliens and humans who are too comfortable with the old ways. But Rigak is determined to make things right. Jack felt a mix of excitement and dread. This was an opportunity, yes, but it was also a massive responsibility. He wasn't a politician, and he didn't have the diplomatic skills Rigak seemed to think he did. And yet, here they were, offering him a chance to be part of something much bigger than himself. Something that could change the course of history on Zen Proxima. I don't know if I'm the right person for this, Jack said quietly, his mind racing with the weight of the decision. Rigak's smile didn't falter. You don't have to be perfect, Jack. You just have to be willing to fight for what's right. I believe in you. Jack stood there for a long moment, his mind spinning. He had no idea what he was getting himself into, but he knew one thing for sure. His life, as he knew it, was about to change forever. Kendra's voice cut through the silence. Rigak's offer is genuine, Jack. Think about it. You can help change the future of Zen Proxima, and in the process, help your fellow humans. This is your chance to make a real difference. Jack hesitated, his heart torn between the life he had always known and the uncertain future that lay before him. Finally, he spoke, his voice quiet but resolute. I'll do it. Rigak's eyes gleamed with approval, and he extended his hand once again. Welcome to the team, Jack. I'm glad you made the right choice. And just like that, Jack's life was set on a new path, one that would take him into the heart of the galaxy's most powerful and dangerous circles, where the future of not just humans, but all species, would be decided. The next few days felt like a blur to Jack. His life, once grounded in the dusty construction sites of Zen Proxima, had shifted into something entirely foreign. Rigak's estate became his new home, and every day felt like stepping deeper into a world of politics, power, and influence that Jack had never imagined. He attended meetings, learned the ins and outs of corporate dealings, and began to see firsthand how the galaxy's elite operated. It was like being thrust into the heart of a storm, where everything moved with a calculated rhythm, and Jack was left trying to keep pace. Kendra, ever present by his side, was a constant guide through the whirlwind. She helped him navigate the complex alien bureaucracy and introduced him to Rigak's inner circle. They were all high-ranking officials from various factions, each more alien and sophisticated than the last. But Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Despite his growing role within Rigak's operation, there was an undercurrent of tension that he couldn't ignore. The smile Kendra wore at all times, that gentle, reassuring smile, now seemed to have a hidden edge, something sharp and calculating beneath the surface. One evening, after a long day of meetings and discussions, Jack was summoned to Rigak's private study. The room was quiet, filled with the subtle hum of advanced technology and the low glow of bioluminescent lights. Rigak stood by the window, his back turned to Jack as he gazed out at the sprawling gardens below. It was a moment of stillness before the storm, and Jack couldn't help but feel the weight of the silence. Jack, Rigak said, his voice calm but commanding. I trust you've settled in well. I've heard good things about your work with the human workers. Your efforts are starting to make a real difference. Jack nodded, feeling the pressure of the praise. It was nothing like the backbreaking work he used to do, yet somehow, this was just as hard. Thank you, sir. I'm doing my best. There's still a long way to go, though. Rigak turned to face him, his expression unreadable. Indeed, but the work you're doing is important. You're helping bridge a gap that's been years in the making. And for that, I appreciate you. Jack wasn't sure where this conversation was going. Rigak had always been cryptic, and today, he seemed to be watching Jack with a keen interest. I'm happy to help however I can. There was a brief pause before Rigak spoke again, his tone more serious now. I've been hearing whispers, Jack. Whispers about the human workers, about their dissatisfaction with the new system. Some of them think you've been compromised, that you're no better than the others who've come before you, that you're just another pawn in Rigak's game. Jack's stomach dropped. What? Who's saying that? Rigak raised an eyebrow. It doesn't matter who. What matters is that these rumors are spreading, and they could jeopardize everything we've worked for. His eyes narrowed. I need you to keep the peace, Jack. To show them that you're one of us, that you're not their enemy. The weight of Rigak's words settled heavily on Jack's shoulders. It felt like a test, one that was both personal and professional. I've been trying to do that, sir. But you know how people are. They're suspicious. They've been treated badly for so long. It's hard for them to believe anything will change. Rigak's gaze hardened. You'll have to convince them. There's no room for weakness in this business, Jack. I expect you to handle it. I'm counting on you to lead the human workforce, to show them that you're different. Jack's mind raced. He hadn't signed up for this level of responsibility. He had wanted to help, yes, but not at the cost of his own integrity. I'll do what I can, sir, he said, though doubt lingered in the back of his mind. Rigak smiled, though there was something cold in the gesture. Good. I knew I could count on you. As Jack turned to leave, a sudden thought hit him. Was Rigak using him? He had always been a human liaison, but now it felt like he was being pushed into a game where the stakes were much higher than he had anticipated. What if Rigak wasn't really interested in bridging the gap between humans and aliens? What if he just wanted to control them, to use Jack as a pawn in his own agenda? That night, as Jack lay in his guest suite, his mind raced with the implications of his conversation with Rigak. He had always been the kind of person to do what was right, but now, in this strange new world, it was harder to tell what the right thing was. He couldn't ignore the feeling that something wasn't right. The human workers, who had started to look to him for guidance, were beginning to doubt his sincerity. The more he thought about it, the more the weight of Rigak's words gnawed at him. As if on cue, there was a soft knock at his door. Jack got up, surprised to find Kendra standing there, her expression unreadable. Jack, she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. We need to talk. He closed the door behind her, confused. What's going on? Kendra's eyes searched his face, a flicker of something darker crossing her expression. I've been hearing things too, Jack. Things about you. About me? Jack's pulse quickened. What are you talking about? You've become too close to Rigak, too involved in his plans. People are starting to wonder if you're really working for them, or if you're working for Rigak. The workers are getting suspicious. Jack's heart sank. I'm not working for him. I'm working for them. For the people. Kendra shook her head. It's not that simple. Rigak isn't interested in peace between humans and aliens. He wants control, and he's using you to get it. Jack's mind was spinning. What do you mean? I mean that Rigak's plan isn't to change things for the better, Jack. It's to consolidate power. And if you don't watch yourself, you'll end up playing right into his hands. The words hit Jack like a slap to the face. He had trusted Rigak, believed in the promise of a better future for the humans and aliens of Zen Proxima. But now, standing in this opulent mansion, with the weight of Kendra's words sinking in, he wasn't so sure anymore. Had he been naive? Kendra's expression softened. I didn't want to say anything, but I can see that you're starting to question things. I just want you to know the truth before it's too late. Jack stared at her, his mind reeling. And what do you think I should do? Kendra hesitated, then placed a hand on his arm. I think you need to be careful. You're in deep, Jack, and it's going to get a lot messier from here. As Kendra left, Jack stood frozen, the weight of her warning settling in. Rigak's agenda was far more dangerous than he had imagined. And now, Jack had to decide which side he was really on, and whether he could trust anyone, even the people who had offered him a chance at a better life. The weight of the conversation with Kendra lingered in Jack's mind like a storm cloud, dark and oppressive. He couldn't shake the sense that something was wrong, something deeper than the lies and promises Rigak had fed him. The vision of a better future he had once believed in now seemed fragile, as if it might shatter at any moment. The more Jack thought about it, the more certain he became. He couldn't trust Rigak. He couldn't even trust Kendra entirely. Everyone had their own agenda, and Jack was stuck in the middle, trying to make sense of it all. Days passed, but the uneasy feeling didn't leave. Jack found himself walking through the estate's polished halls in a daze, his thoughts swirling with doubt. He hadn't told Kendra, but he had started to make plans. He needed to uncover the truth, needed to understand the real stakes of this game before he got pulled deeper into it. But every step he took felt like he was being watched. That evening, as Jack was poring over some files Rigak had given him, the door to his study opened without warning. He didn't need to look up to know who it was. Jack. Kendra's voice came through, smooth but heavy with an emotion Jack couldn't place. She closed the door behind her softly, then stood there, silent for a long moment, as if waiting for something. Jack looked up from the papers and met her eyes. There was no warmth in them today, only something colder. "What's going on, Kendra?" he asked, his voice steady, but his pulse quickening. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fit, and he had a sinking feeling that he was about to get the answers he'd been dreading. She took a slow breath before speaking. "You've been asking too many questions, Jack. I told you things were going to get messy, but I didn't think you'd dig this deep. It's time for you to know the truth." Jack's heart skipped. The words hung in the air between them, thick with the weight of what she was about to reveal. He didn't know what to expect, but it was clear that whatever was coming, it was going to change everything. Kendra walked toward him and sat across the desk. She didn't immediately speak, instead watching him carefully, almost as if assessing how much he already knew. "Regak's vision isn't about peace, Jack. It's about control. He's been using you, using your position to manipulate the human workers, to make them think that their voice matters, that there's a future where humans and aliens can work together. But that's not the end goal. He's not trying to build a better world. He's trying to consolidate power, both politically and economically." Jack leaned forward, his heart thudding in his chest. "What are you saying, Kendra? Is Regak behind the sabotage at the construction sites? The accidents?" Kendra's face hardened. "Yes, but it's more complicated than just that. You see, the sabotage wasn't just to make humans look incompetent. It was a test, Jack. A test to see how far Regak could push his influence over the workers. He's been using the chaos to create a rift, to stir up distrust and frustration among the human workers, all while positioning himself as the only one who can save them. He's been playing both sides." Jack felt his stomach churn. Regak had manipulated him all along. He had been a pawn in a much larger game, and he hadn't even known it. He had thought he was working for the workers, fighting for a better future. But all along, Regak's plan had been to use Jack's idealism to further his own power. "So what do you want me to do, Kendra?" Jack asked, his voice cold. "You're telling me all of this, but you're still working for him, aren't you? Why should I trust you?" Kendra didn't flinch. "Because I've seen what he's capable of, Jack. I've seen what he's willing to do to maintain control, and I've been a part of it for too long. I don't want to be his tool anymore. I'm trying to help you avoid the same fate." He stepped out onto the platform, greeted by a hush from the crowd. Their eyes were full of questions, of fear, and of hope. For so long, they had been pawns in a game they didn't understand. Now, they had a chance to change the rules. Jack's voice rang out over the courtyard. "I know many of you don't trust me, and I don't blame you. I've been on the other side. I've worked for Regak. I've played into his hands, believing that I could make a difference. But I was wrong. All of us were wrong." The crowd stirred, whispers moving like waves through the sea of alien faces. Jack could see the uncertainty in their eyes. Some of them still weren't sure if they could trust him. "I've seen what Regak's really about," Jack continued, his voice steady, gaining strength with each word. "I've seen the destruction he's caused, the sabotage he's orchestrated, all to drive a wedge between us, between humans and aliens, all to maintain his control. I thought we were building something better, but all we've built is a prison." There was a murmur from the crowd, and Jack could see a few faces that had once been cold now soften. He wasn't just talking to the workers anymore. He was talking to them all, to the aliens who had been blinded by Regak's lies, to the humans who had been too afraid to stand up. "I have evidence. Proof that Regak has been orchestrating the chaos. Proof that he's been using us, all of us, for his own gain." Jack gestured to the data pad in his hand. "And today, I'm going to make sure that everyone knows the truth." He pressed a button on the pad, and the screens around the courtyard flickered to life. The video played, showing footage of Regak's private meetings, his discussions with the Drexus Corporation, and the covert communications he had with key figures across Zen Proxima. The sabotage at the construction sites was laid bare. Regak's plans were now in the open, and there would be no denying it. The room was silent. Jack could hear the soft hum of the air around him, the tension thick as the crowd processed what they were seeing. This wasn't just a betrayal of human workers, it was a betrayal of everyone. The people of Zen Proxima had been played for fools, and now they knew. As the footage ended, Jack turned to face the crowd. Regak isn't the man he claims to be. He's a tyrant, and he's used all of us to build his empire. But today, that changes. Today, we take back control. We stand together, humans and aliens, against the corruption that has torn us apart. A moment of silence passed before a voice broke through from the crowd. What do we do now? Jack's eyes scanned the sea of faces, and he felt a surge of emotion. This was the moment. This was where it all either crumbled or began to rebuild. We fight for our future, Jack said firmly. We hold each other accountable. We stand by each other, and we make sure that no one, no matter their species, gets left behind. This city belongs to all of us. The crowd erupted into applause. It was small at first, but then it grew, the cheers rising louder, the sound echoing across the courtyard. Jack felt a weight lift from his chest, but there was still one last thing to do. Regak's name had to be dragged through the dirt, and Jack would make sure that happened. As Jack prepared to leave the stage, he felt a presence beside him. Kendra stood there, her silver hair shining in the light, her expression unreadable. But her eyes met his with something new, respect. You did it, she said softly. You gave them hope. Jack nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. Now, we make sure it doesn't go to waste. As they turned to face the workers, ready to lead them into this new chapter, Jack realized something profound. It wasn't just about the fight. It was about what came after. Today had been about standing up to tyranny. But tomorrow? Tomorrow was about building something better, together.